Stage 5 and the Santos Tour Down Under just a hop skipping away from its finish in Adelaide on Sunday. The longest stage of 151.5 kilometres from McLaren Vale to Wollonga, and Rowan Dennis, the man in the hot seat. And right behind him, his own team captain, Cadel Evans.
Yes, everybody wondering whether or not this was going to be a day for the challenge coming to the two men. They've dominated this race right from the very start, and they wondered whether the challenge would come from Richie Porte, who was always announcing he would attack on this stage of Wollonga.
Porte had won this stage just 1 year ago, and Cadel Evans on the start line in McLaren Vale looked very happy and very pensive. The start given by Liam Bignell, the Minister for Tourism and Sport, and the riders rolling away to face 3 circuits based on Snapper Point and then 2 climbs up Wollonga Hill, with the finish on the top second time up. Immediately, Paul, there was an attack by Jordan Kirby.
Well, this is part of the course on this penultimate stage of the Santos Tour Down Under. Every year it gets off to a rapid start in excess of 50 kilometres an hour. Yes, the first rider to get away was from Drapac, but chasing him very, very quickly there in the white jersey, leader of the Subaru King of the Mountains, was Jack Bobridge. He was out on course to look for points on his quest to win that competition.
Completing the trio at the front was Greg Henderson, the Kiwi. As they got through to Wollonga first time, the lead was just a couple of minutes. The big crowd in Wollonga able to see them pass. Along Aldinga Beach for the first time, the riders were now building their lead. They were over 3 minutes ahead from the peloton, who weren't showing a great deal of interest yet.
Yes, but they continued to build their advantage to 5 minutes and 35 seconds at a massive point. But the race was always under control of Team BMC, doing the majority of the pacemaking at the front end of the pack, not allowing that breakaway group to get too much of a lead. When they came into Snapper Point for the second time, there were points available, and the first man through was Kirby.
63 kilometres covered, nobody interested in the small time bonuses. The peloton were more interested, in fact, in picking up their small feeding bags. Down the seafront again, or should I say the ocean front, as they're heading towards Snapper Point and the 103 kilometres point. Again, no sprint at all, and this time Greg Henderson taking the small 3-second time bonus.
These riders not really dangerous in the overall standings, but for Kirby it proved just a little bit a race too far, as the wind was starting to really play havoc on the riders, and in the main field behind they were starting to whip up the pace because they knew they were reaching the most critical part of the race, maybe the most critical part since the race started, and picking up Kirby very quickly, leaving just 2 riders at the head of the race as they charged down into Wollonga.
Keeping him just a little bit in front, Jack Bobridge there, looking now for points in the King of the Mountains. That would come first time up the hill. As they were heading now towards a packed Wollonga, the hill lay straight ahead. It was goodbye to Jack from Greg Henderson. His day was done as well. One rider versing the rest now. Jack Bobridge, wearing the white jersey as leader of the Subaru King of the Mountains, was trying to stay ahead long enough to get 16 points at the top and try and confirm this jersey to be his tomorrow.
Yes, but what a chase behind. He'd started the climb with about a 2.5 minute advantage. When he came to the final kilometre, he was just 1 minute ahead of the rest. But he could see the crown over the road, indicating he wasn't far from crowning himself as the King of the Mountains.
The local man who lives here in South Australia got an enormous cheer with 1 full lap to go to the finish of the day. But the peloton was splitting behind, and they had Jack Bobridge in their sights.
But once the main field came over the top of the climb, then it started to get very serious indeed, and Team Astana in the turquoise jersey decided that they would try and set the final climb of the day up for their man, a former winner of this race, Luis Leon Sanchez. But as they came into Wollonga, the main field was then under the control of Team Orica Greenedge.
Simon Clark leading on the front, trying to take up Daryl Impey, who was wearing the II-Net Sprint Leaders jersey. A few more time bonuses and he could be the leader himself. As the pace was being set, Richie Porte seemed almost to be smiling.
Everybody waiting to see who would be the first man to move, and the first man to make that move in the black and blue jersey of Team Sky was Richie Porte, but he was covered very, very quickly by number 1, Cadel Evans.
And following Cadel Evans was Rowan Dennis, his young team leader. These riders are now locked together like limpets. Porte was giving his best shot. In the end, he cracked Cadel Evans, but Rowan Dennis was still up for the fight. He quickly shot across to join the back wheel of Porte.
Well, he managed to close down the gap, but Richie Porte knew this was the most important moment for him, and he jumped one more time, and this time he put the young South Australian Rowan Dennis into difficulty. But then it was just a question of what would the clock say as he crossed the line in first place.
Deja vu, a win alone as he did a year ago, but this time the clock was of the utmost importance. As Porte hits the line, he looks over his shoulder, and then the clock was starting. It wasn't quite long enough. He would not get the Hoka jersey by just 2 seconds. But the two boys, both Australians, congratulated one another.
Richie, this has been a phenomenal performance. Wollonga Hill always seems to smile on you.
Yeah, I know this climb quite well. It suits me a lot better than the stage at Paracombe, but I don't think I quite got the jersey, which is a bit of a disappointing. But no, I mean, my team were fantastic today, and full credit to Rowan. I mean, I gave it to him as hard as I could, but just wasn't quite to be. But I'm very happy to win the stage. It's a great way to start the year. I had a rough last year, so it's just nice to get, you know, off to a good start.
Any words of wisdom from Cadel over those last few kilometres?
Nobody could talk. There was no words of wisdom. It was just stay at the front as usual, stay out of the wind, and just follow. Luckily, they set a good tempo on the front, and it sort of nullified any attacks from the behind. And Richie sort of went, in hindsight, probably a little bit too late, because really, he had better legs than me today. So I've got to thank him, but also my team is just absolutely awesome, absolutely awesome.
And so too was Rowan Dennis on that mountain, because he kept the lead by just 2 seconds over Richie Porte. And now, with 1 day to go, it'll be a fine battle on the circuits around Adelaide Central Business District. 90 kilometres to race still to go. Richie Porte had played his cards today as he had planned to do, and he came up just 2 seconds short of taking the Hoka jersey. But he was happy enough as he saluted the crowd, because his health is good this year and he's setting himself up for a great 2015 season. But for the overall leader, now 3 days the leader of this race, Rowan Dennis knows he's just 90 kilometres away from winning the Tour for the very first time. And boy, he will have deserved it.